Today on Sophia and Theo, we're exploring Stoicism, a practical ancient philosophy focused on virtue, self-control, and accepting what's within our control. We'll break down its key principles and how you can apply them to lead a calmer, more resilient life.
Ever feel like life's just one big obstacle course? Hurdles everywhere you turn.
I think we've all been there.
Well, get ready, because today we're diving into Stoicism. It claims to have the cheat codes.
Ooh, cheat codes. I like the sound of that.
And no, it's not about becoming some emotionless robot. It's about finding your inner strength, navigating this crazy thing called life with a bit more grace and a lot less stress.
That's a great way to put it. It's a framework, really, for not just enduring the ups and downs, but actually using them to grow.
Exactly. And the thing is, this wisdom, it's resonated with people for centuries. Think Roman emperors, think slaves, even a U.S. president or two.
That's quite a range.
Right. That kind of staying power, it has to mean something, don't you think?
Absolutely. It speaks volumes.
So before we unpack all that, I'm curious, where did it all begin? What's the origin story of Stoicism?
Picture ancient Athens, about 300 BC. You're wandering through the marketplace, right? And you come across this really vibrant painted porch, the Stoic.
Painted porch. Okay, I'm picturing it.
This is where a philosopher, Zeno of Citium, taught, and his followers. They became known as the Stoics.
Wow, so the name Stoicism literally from a porch.
That's it.
Love it. But what was Zeno's big idea? What is Stoicism at its core?
It's about living a virtuous life, but not just any kind of virtue. Stoics believed in aligning your life with nature's principles.
Okay, aligning with nature.
Focusing on what you can control and accepting what you can't.
So less about controlling the universe, more about mastering your inner world.
Exactly. True freedom comes from within. Mastering your thoughts, your reactions, your emotions.
Okay, I'm already seeing how this is useful in our chaotic, always-on world. But there's this misconception, right, that Stoicism equals being emotionless, like some kind of unfeeling statue.
Right. A total misunderstanding.
Yeah.
It's not about denying your emotions. It's about understanding them, managing them through reason. You're not trying to stop the waves, but you are learning to navigate them.
Now, that is a fantastic analogy. I love that. And speaking of navigating, I understand there's a strong emphasis on virtue.
Absolutely.
As the guiding principle for living a good life. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. The Stoics believed in 4 core virtues: wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. And these weren't just lofty ideals to them. They were meant to be lived, integrated into every part of life.
It's about putting it into action, walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Precisely. And to really illustrate this, let's dive into each of these virtues, starting with wisdom. The Stoics, they were all about learning, constantly seeking knowledge, understanding the world. They were big on listening more than speaking, observing, not rushing to judgment.
Makes me think of that quote by Zeno about having 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Exactly. Now, justice, for Stoics, wasn't just a concept. It was a call to action. Standing up for what's right, advocating for fairness, challenging injustice, even when it was risky.
It's not just about personal development. It's about making the world a better place, more just, more equitable.
Yes, exactly. Now, courage. People often think of physical bravery, but for Stoics, it was more about facing your fears, your challenges head on, no matter what. Seneca, for example, once said that he pities those who haven't faced misfortune.
Really? Why would he say that?
Because they don't know what they're capable of.
That's a fascinating way to look at it. Most people, I think, would rather avoid misfortune altogether.
Of course. But his point is, challenges, setbacks, they're inevitable. And it's through those challenges that we discover our strength, our resilience.
So embrace the unknown. Trust that you can handle whatever comes.
Exactly. And this ties into the 4th virtue, temperance. Now, this isn't about denying yourself pleasure or living an austere life. It's about finding balance. The Stoics believed in living in accordance with nature, understanding your limits, practicing self-control, finding that sweet spot.
Sounds a lot like Aristotle's golden mean, that perfect balance.
You've got it. Now, to truly get these virtues, it helps to look at some of the big names in Stoicism, those who really lived these principles.
Okay, so we're talking about putting these Stoic virtues into action. And who better to learn from than the all-stars, right? Who are the figures that really stand out?
When it comes to Stoic heavyweights, gotta mention Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. Each one, in their own way, really lived it.
All right, let's start with Marcus Aurelius. No, he wasn't just a philosopher, right? He was a Roman emperor.
Exactly.
Talk about pressure.
Can you imagine ruling an empire and in your spare time you're writing down your deepest thoughts?
Wild.
That was Marcus Aurelius. his journal, Meditations. It's basically a Stoic self-help guide, written by a guy running the ancient world.
That's incredible. So we're really getting a glimpse inside the mind of an emperor.
You got it. And despite all that power, he still struggled with, human stuff. Stress, difficult emotions, accepting what he couldn't control, figuring out how to live with purpose.
It's kind of comforting to know that even an emperor dealt with those things. It makes those Stoic principles feel more attainable, less about being perfect, more about navigating life with, like, more resilience.
Exactly, and that's the beauty of it. It's timeless. Stoicism acknowledges our shared humanity while giving us tools to face those challenges.
I love that. Okay, so that's the emperor philosopher. What about Seneca? He was a writer and advisor, right?
A true Renaissance man, playwright, philosopher, political advisor, and get this, tutor to Nero.
Nero, as in Emperor Nero.
The one and only. Talk about a tough student.
That's an understatement. I bet Seneca had some stories. What did he write about?
He's most famous for his letters. Basically, advice on navigating life in ancient Rome. And let me tell you, life back then, it wasn't easy.
I bet. Intrigue, gladiators. Sounds intense.
It was. But through it all, Seneca, he stayed a voice of reason, giving advice on grief, loss, anger, finding contentment, relationships. And the amazing thing is, it's still so relevant today.
It's like he was the original advice columnist, dealing with those timeless human challenges. Okay, last but not least, we've got Epictetus. Refresh my memory on his story.
Epictetus' story is incredible. Talk about resilience. He was born into slavery, faced immense hardship. He even endured physical cruelty that left him with a disability.
Wow, it's hard to imagine going through something like that.
It really is. But the thing is, despite all that, he embraced Stoicism, eventually gained his freedom, became this renowned philosopher.
Really? From slavery to renowned philosopher.
Amazing, right? And his teaching was all about how true freedom, it doesn't come from external circumstances. It comes from mastering your mind, aligning your thoughts, your actions with virtue.
That's a powerful story. It really speaks to the heart of Stoicism, doesn't it? Even when things are unimaginably difficult, we still have the power to choose how we respond, to find that inner strength.
Yes, exactly. And that's where we start connecting these principles to our lives today. The Stoics didn't just give us lofty ideals, they gave us tools, practical exercises for cultivating these virtues every single day.
All right, let's talk about putting this into practice. We've covered the origins, the key figures, the virtues. How can we actually use this ancient wisdom in our modern lives?
Well, you're right. It's not enough to just know about Stoicism.
Right. My problems aren't magically going to disappear just because I've heard of Marcus Aurelius.
Exactly. Stoicism, it's about action. It's about taking those principles and turning them into habits, daily habits. And luckily for us, the Stoics, they gave us a toolkit. Practical stuff, techniques for, integrating these virtues.
Okay, so what's in this Stoic toolkit? Give me the techniques. How do we bring this wisdom into our daily grind?
One of the most fundamental ones is called the dichotomy of control.
Dichotomy of control.
Yeah.
Sounds intense.
It's about being really clear about what you can actually control. Your thoughts, your actions, your responses. And then there's what you can't control.
So things like?
The weather, people's opinions, the stock market.
I see.
Focus your energy on what you can influence. Let go of the rest.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense, especially in this chaotic world. It's a way to manage the stress, the unpredictability.
Exactly. And it's something you can practice constantly. Stuck in traffic, don't get frustrated. Practice mindfulness, listen to a podcast, someone at work driving you crazy. Remember, you can only control your response. Choose to be calm, assertive.
Simple, but powerful.
Sure.
Okay, what else is in the toolkit?
Journaling. But not just any kind of journaling, Stoic journaling. It's about self-reflection.
I've heard of this. It's about, like, checking in with yourself, making sure you're actually living those virtues.
You got it. It's a moment to celebrate your successes, those times when you reacted with Stoic virtue, but also to reflect on, areas to improve.
We all have those moments, right?
Absolutely. Maybe you lost your temper, gossiped about a coworker, or, wallowed in self-pity. It's about acknowledging those things honestly, with compassion. That's how we learn.
We are what we repeatedly do, right? It's about making those conscious efforts.
Exactly. Okay, ready for one that might sound a little counterintuitive?
Hit me with it. I love a good paradox.
This one's called negative visualization. Premeditato malorum in Latin. It's about taking the time to imagine things not going your way.
Wait, intentionally thinking about bad things? I'm not sure about this. I'm more of an optimist.
I hear you. But listen, It's not about becoming a pessimist, right? It's about realism. Life has ups and downs. By mentally preparing for those setbacks, those challenges, we don't get thrown off course so easily.
Huh. So it's more about being prepared.
Exactly. Plus, it makes you appreciate what you have right now, because nothing is guaranteed.
That's a good point. Okay, now I have to hear about this amor fati.
Amor fati, love of fate. It's about embracing everything life throws your way. The good, the bad, even the ugly, with, like, acceptance, even gratitude.
Seriously. How can you love the bad stuff, the unfair stuff?
It's not about denying the pain or difficulty. It's about recognizing that even in those tough times, there's opportunity for learning, for growth. It's trusting that there's a bigger picture, and you're a part of it.
So surrender to the flow, but still choose your response.
Beautifully put. And in a way, that's Stoicism in a nutshell. It's not about avoiding challenges that's impossible. It's about facing them with courage, with wisdom, and finding peace amidst all the chaos.
I love that. So what will you, the listener, take away from our deep dive into Stoicism? Which of these practices resonates with you? How will you use them to navigate your own life's challenges? Just something to think about. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.